Welcome to River City Plus, the show after the show, the River City After Party. And we're all happy to be here because it's Friday, and that means we have an entire weekend ahead of us to read and get to know novelists and authors like Jennifer Nestor, who we have in the River City Plus studio today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really thrilled to have you because we obviously have a main character energy that we're going to be talking about today in your book. But first of all, I want to talk about your journey into writing. Children's books are such a unique area, and it does take a certain child at heart to be able to connect with those characters. So talk to us about Jane.
Yeah, so Jane is the main character of Jane Escapes to the Jungle of Individuality, and she is a unique and humble girl that gets bullied on the school bus. She has a lot of anxiety, and she ends up going into a sort of dream state where she goes into this jungle of individuality where all these animals have unique features just like her. So I think as far as me and my author journey, being a kid and really like going through similar experiences as Jane helped me realize that this is an important and timely topic and it needed to be talked about. So that's really where the concept of the book and Jane as the main character energy came from.
So why was that important for you? Did you cross a bridge in your own life where you really had to decide who you were going to be as a person, whether that was a teenager or as an adult, and then got to bring some of that into the jungle of individuality?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me personally, when I was younger, I had moved from Philadelphia to Florida. My mom was a single parent, and I really got bullied a lot for my northern accent, so I didn't really sound like everyone else around me, and then I also, might not have looked like everyone around me either. So I experienced a lot of those, ridicules and comments as a young child, which I think inspired me to write a story like this where, maybe the main character doesn't look exactly like everyone else. She might be unique and quirky, but at the end of the day, she really learns to embrace those things that make her special instead of it being a negative thing.
And I love the fact, too, that you also brought this to life in a video format. Me, when I was younger, I've spoken about this before, I really was challenged visually. I had a lot of medical vision problems and, dyslexia and things like that were a challenge. So I also loved when things were in a video or an auditory format because they were more accessible to me. So why was it important for you to also have those two mediums in addition to the children's book?
Yeah, I think creating a visual for my book launch that had a lot of the imagery for the kids and kind of like the words, it gives an opportunity to have a short summary form with those that might not be able to comprehend maybe the summary of the story initially or the big word individuality. Like it's a way to kind of bring the language to a place where all individuals can understand it. And then there's also that visual component where maybe somebody might be behind on a reading level and they might not be able to read all the words, but they can actually see the story from beginning to end in a very short form piece of content that is about a minute long. So I thought that was important to have it accessible for everyone in that way.
Exactly. Able to conceptualize that at a younger age, whether you're able to process the exactness of what the book is saying, also makes it really malleable and touchable for kids who are even younger. Because what would you say an ideal age range is for this book?
Yeah, the target age range for this book is 4 to 9, but I've gone to a few story times where I've read it to younger kids, and I've learned to incorporate like visuals and more engagement when I read to them, and some character sticks I hand out, and I think that helps them connect with the story a little bit more, but initially it was 4 to 9.
Oh, that's so cool. So I obviously am very impressed with the amount of authors we were talking to right before we came on.
Yeah.
And I think you all have seen it at River City Plus. We have so many unique authors and storytellers and visual craftsmen from LOL Film Festival, to people who are now even being carried by other local vendors like Vampire Books. So it's a really unique thing. But how challenging is it to actually bring an idea, a story that you think is great, your family thinks is great, to actually getting it published?
Yeah. For me personally, initially I wanted to go the traditional publishing route. I did put out some queries, and then I realized that in my real life, I'm a marketing and communications professional, so I'm a director for a healthcare tech company. And with that, the one piece that's always been missing has been that creativity with the messaging.
Yes.
And when I started to write this book and like get everything ready, I realized that if I self-published, I could have my own illustrator that I contracted. So I found Victoria on children'sillustrators.com. She's actually an art teacher from the Ukraine, and she's been phenomenal as far as like believing in the story and really knowing that it could have a positive impact based on the important topics. And I got to kind of walk alongside her throughout the entire creative process, from setting the scene to the black and white photos to like sketches, and then to color, and really getting to be a part of every small detail. And it was funny, you said friends and family. My husband was actually like kind of there throughout the process, watching me go back and forth with the illustrator, and he's like, wow, I can't believe you would find something so minor, like maybe the glasses were missing, or like small things that allowed me to use my creative background and my visual eye to bring this to life, to accompany my illustrator in this process. So it's been really cool, and I'm highly passionate about not just the storyline, but the creativity that went behind it. And it does take a lot of legwork to get a self-published book off the ground. It's not just, getting the illustrator, but it's also the editing team and, finding someone to print the books, and your distributor, and trying to get into retail stores on your own and so forth. So for me, it's been a lot of learning and education and researching myself on, hey, what has worked for some people and what's not working, and how can I put my own creative spin on, my marketing efforts and getting the book out there in the right way that, really gives Jane that pedestal that she deserves.
So in terms of creating Jane and her world, what advice would you give other authors that are looking at this? Because I have heard so many times that people say they look into that traditional route of publishing, and as an artist, you very quickly tend to lose some of the autonomy, and there's certain things that are going to get changed, and you lose that voice. And you are writing about a girl who's trying to find her voice and be comfortable with that. So do you feel like that was a parallel between yourself and Jane going through this process?
I think so. I think for me, like being stifled as a younger kid and really not speaking up for myself when I did get bullied and so forth, and then hearing stories when I was a mentor for a while for Big Brother, Big Sister, and some of the parents that are close friends of mine too, I felt like it was important to put these topics that are so timely and relevant for all people. And what's interesting is it's not even just for kids. If you think about it, like when I read the stories in front of their parents, a lot of times parents will come up to me and say, wow, like I was Jane too. Like that, they connect in it in a way that I didn't really expect from like an adult perspective. But when I look back now, I feel like indirectly, as I was writing it, there was a little piece of me as Jane, and then there's Jane everywhere. Now that I've like been out there and been doing a lot of story times and stuff, like hearing the feedback has been incredible, and it makes me feel like I'm actually making a positive impact and I have a purpose. And that was the main reason why I decided to write this book, was to make some sort of positive impact on kids that might not have had that voice that Jane does in this story.
In this process creating this book, what have you found makes a true staying power of a character? So, a Jane that someone's going to remember as an adult, or just a staying power of a character in a book that we can draw from for years to come.
I think the biggest thing is making a character that's highly relatable to so many different people. I also feel like there has to be some sort of individuality and like diversity to it, in a sense of like, how can you create a character that is so relatable to many people, where they can pick one or two quirks or qualities that this character has and say, wow, I see her in me. Like I have been a Jane in my life. And I think that this book has done that. And based on a lot of the, feedback and so forth, people, the one thing that stuck out to me was I was on a podcast, and the the guy was a teacher. He was a first grade teacher, and he read the book to his students last year as a beta read. And he said there was a little girl in his class that had curly brown hair and big glasses and came up and said, "I'm so glad that I see a character that looks like me." And that made me feel so good, like to have a young reader like feel that way too, and feel that she's relatable. So.
I love that. It's so unique, and it's so special when you get to see these characters come to life. Now, something I feel like you did a really good job of, and hearing how meticulous you are, I'm sure that this was a challenging part of your journey. How did you decide on Victoria to be the person who brought your illustrations to life?
So I actually went on the children'sillustrators.com. I was looking at a lot of portfolios, and when I saw Victoria's portfolio, I just thought that the art was different. It had a unique quality to it where it was so vibrant and detailed, and I feel like it caught my eye initially, so I had reached out to her, and the way that it works is a lot of times they'll do a test drawing of your main character. So she offered, to do a drawing of Jane, and we actually had 3 Janes initially, and I'll have to show you after the segment, but there was basically a tall Jane that had like long hair and a different outfit, and then there was a Jane that looked a little bit older, and she was in the middle, and I saw that Jane and I said, that's her. That's what I had imagined in my mind as I was writing it. I almost did things a little backwards where I set the scenes in my mind and like kind of the visual just based on how I am, and then like accompanied the words to match. And I saw Jane and I was just like, this is it. So I told Victoria that I'd love to have her come on the project as my illustrator, and we have been working together since last November.
Wow.
So it definitely took quite some time to do the sketches and then the actual illustrations, and now get to see it come to life. So it's been really cool.
That's so exciting. And then obviously I think we have to have a little brag moment. I see that you won a Golden Wizard Award. So what does that mean for your book?
Yeah, so the one on the front, the seal, is the Golden Wizard Book Prize Award for 24, and it's basically an award that covers innovation and like magic within a story, and I was really proud of that because I thought that it went well with, kind of my mission as an author and bringing those imaginative stories to the young readers. And not only did I get the Golden Wizard, but I also got a Literary Titan Gold Award, and then a Reader's Favorite 5-star.
Wow.
And a very positive Kirkus review, which I'm proud of that because just the challenge it is to get good feedback from them as a self-published author. So, it was very special to me. That was my first one, so I decided to put it on the book.
Yeah, as you should. I would put them all in there. I'd be like, I did all of this. Check it out. Obviously now, looking back and thinking about the stories that were really impactful when I was a kid, what is the feedback that you've gotten from children? Because, they're A, the most critical, and B, the most honest, whether you want them to be or not.
The most feedback I've gotten is really about the animals and Jane separately. So if it's a younger reader, they'll come up and they'll say, I really like the cheetah. That was so cool when, Jane was riding on the cheetah through the jungle. And then if it's a little bit of more of that target audience range of like 4 to 9, I've gotten a lot of feedback on Jane and how they've really enjoyed the book and the story and that they can relate to her. So it's really cool to hear that. And then the illustrations have been a huge feedback as far as like the colors and the vibrancy and how it can hold the attention of the reader. So you don't even have to read the words to go through the book and see that.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this, there is so much depth and artistry. Like it doesn't look just printed, right. which I think would catch my eye too if I was going through portfolios. I think you see that obviously in the video portion, but you can see it a lot in the book. So did Victoria also create the digital video portion of it?
She did not create the digital portion with the words and so forth, but all of the images that you see here are within the story, and they are her artwork. So I had a contractor that did the actual video trailer for the promotion with like layering the words to her imagery.
So an additional thing on your plate to do. I mean, so clearly you're not somebody to just like take the easy road to anything.
No.
If you want to do something, you want to do something right. So what's a piece of advice that you would give somebody else looking to publish, what did you learn along the way that maybe you would change in the path to Jane's next adventure, or if you just wanted to give advice to younger writers?
Yeah, so I'll do both. So the first thing I would say that I learned that is really important is don't jeopardize quality. So for me, what was really important was, yes, it's an investment up front to self-publish, and you invest a lot of your dollars, but it's important to be proud of the final product and make sure that you're working hard to nail the visuals and that you write a story that matters and it has longevity to it. So I would say that's the first thing. And then to young readers, or aspiring authors who are also readers, I'd say don't give up on your daydream. This is something that I honestly have been wanting to do since I was a little kid, and to see it come to life and to see my name on a book and to be published, it actually makes me feel like I've accomplished something that has always been inside of me that I was afraid to let out. So definitely don't give up on your dream. I think that's important for anybody to know, and especially people that want to publish a book and that are just afraid and don't know how. There's so much education out there where you could research and learn, and what I really love is our author community here in Jacksonville, like we were mentioning earlier, is so helpful. I've met so many new friends that are authors where we can strategize and help each other out and give feedback and advice, and I think that that's integral, is surrounding yourself with a community who is passionate about the same thing as you are. So those would be my tips of advice.
I love that. Definitely reaching out to others, seeing the other experts that you have in the area. So we want to make sure that we leave knowing exactly how we can get in touch with you, how we can support you in your journey, and what's next for you.
So you can go to my website at jennestorauthor.com, and then there's also I'm on Instagram at jennestorauthor and TikTok at Jen Writes Children's Books. Moving forward from here, I have a lot of events that are coming up in August and September. So this Saturday, tomorrow, I'm actually going to be at the Literary Lounge in Murray Hill, and I'll be reading my story at 2:45, and then next Saturday I'll be at the Root to Rise yoga studio, which I'm super excited about. It's going to be a parent and kids story time and yoga session, and what I love about that is it's extremely I don't want to say on brand, but it's very close to the storyline because there's some mindfulness and anxiety and so forth in there. So I feel like the yoga makes sense to be able to teach kids to take that pause, just exactly what's inside of the text of the book is, she takes the pause and she finds mindfulness. So I'll be there on the 17th at 2:00, and from there you can just check out my website for different events and so forth that I'll be around town.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for doing everything that you do. Obviously, letting kids know that it is okay to take a pause, to take a moment, that they can be in control of those emotions, but to also go full send with exactly who they are.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, now real quick, we need a shoe cam just because she told me that she brought great shoes. So you have to kick up and we have to see your cute shoes. I was like, Taylor, can we just shoe cam shot? This has nothing to do with River City Plus.
Fine.
It's purely because
they're Betsy Johnson.
Aren't they cute? She has way better shoes. She just said she brought her good shoes for me today. So yeah, there we go. All right, that's enough. Before we get the weirdos on the internet, we're going to bring it right back up. Thank you, Taylor. I was like, my girl wore good shoes and then we're sitting down and you didn't get to see them. So listen, we are nothing if not full circle here on River City Live. So Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us on River City Plus. We will be back with you on Monday morning for more River City Live.